This is a video from 8 years ago. People questioned Palestinians on what do they believe should happen if the Palestinians were to get, they're saying Palestinians get back Palestine of 1948. But the fact of the matter is, Palestine was never a nation. That is just something that has been perpetuated into younger generations, that they have been taught that. When they were never a nation. There were Palestinians here, but Israel was a land that was given by God. It was called Israel because they were a tribe. They were a people. There was 12 tribes of Israel. They were a kingdom. And when they were ran out, many empires took over the land, and Israel were promised that they would come back to their land that God had promised them. It's in the Bible. It's literally prophesied. So, when the Brits released their control, gave it over to the UN after World War II, they tried to create a Palestine state. There was never a Palestine. That's just a lie that they have told younger generations. And what happened is they refused to accept even 80% of the land and give 20%. Because of the agreement to allow Palestine, they had to accept that the Jews were allowed to come back to their homeland. This was never their land. Turkey ran it. They didn't have any rights under Turkey. And they were not even allowed civil rights until the Brits were involved. And so when they were given civil rights to have freedom of speech, then they started saying, we don't want any of the Jews here. None of them. They wanted to kill them. This still exists today. And this lady here, this Palestinian woman, I want people to see this. Because when you see people by the hundreds or even by the thousands out in the street chanting, Free Palestine, Free Palestine, they have no idea of what they're saying. They have no idea what the Palestinians even want. They think that they're being controlled or they're being treated unfairly. No, you don't understand. They have continued to attack Israel because they don't want Jews there, period. That has been before the Jews even came back to their homeland after they were horrifyingly ran off their land and then genocided. They have had Nazi Holocaust coming from jihadists and from Hitler. Now, this woman, listen to what this woman says. Okay, so this here, what this is this guy's going around and he's asking Palestinians what would happen if Palestinians get the land. Let's say that they declare all of Israel to be Palestine. What do they want to happen with the Jews or the Israelis? And listen to what she says. Now, I have it, the sound muted because it's, in text, but he's asking her what should be done with the Israelis if Palestine, if they were to ever win. She wants every single Jew to be killed. This guy went around into all talked to a bunch of Palestinians of various ages, groups. All of them want every Jew either killed or thrown out. Do you see? There is no trying to reason with Palestinians. They don't want Jews there, period. They act just like Hitler did, hating on the Jews. And it's just new lies being shared in different generations. Not one Jew. He wants them all gone. Incredulously, this guy says that the Jews have to go back to where they came from. Yeah, all of Israel, to include a lot of what even Egypt has, was given to Israel. And do you think just because they were run off their land, they can come and run into stolen land and then make it their land? That's just ridiculous. But this is what they want. They don't want Jews there, period. There is no two-nation state. These are younger generations who have perpetuated the same hatred, the same refusal to have a two-nation state. There is no possibility for a two-nation state. They won't accept it. They haven't accepted it for decades. And each time they wouldn't even accept a little tiny piece to be allowed for the Jews that were there. The Palestinians, the Muslim religion didn't even exist when Israel was in Israel, what is now called Israel. There was not even a religion called Islam. It didn't even exist. Jerusalem and the holy sites where Jesus walked was always Israel's land. And when Jesus came from the Jews, Jerusalem, Bethlehem, those are holy sites that belongs to the Jews and the Christians. Islam are just people that came about in the later years. And again, they never, ever had a country called Palestine. They were people there that didn't even have a nation. And Turkey ran a lot of the West Bank, and they didn't even have any civil rights. And then when they tried to make a two-nation state, they just would not accept. They hate Jews. It's bred into their religion. They hate Jews. They hate them. It's even in their Quran to hate them. It is a religion of hatred of Jews. Now, there are some who are not extreme Muslims that can live without openly hating Jews. But this is what they mean by free Palestine. They're talking about freeing their land in total of Jews, to either kill them or to throw them out. So people in America who are running about talking about free Palestine are speaking terrorist words, because Israel is our ally. It's our ally. And no legislator anywhere should be allowed to speak in support of Palestine, saying free Palestine. They should not be allowed to do that. They don't want a two-nation state, people. They don't want a two-nation state. And anybody who is putting that lie out there is just spreading propaganda. They don't want a two-nation state. They never have. And this is clear as day. This was 8 years ago. These people in Palestine are shielding the terrorists because they want the Jews out, and many of them want them dead. You saw what that lady said. She wasn't a Hamas soldier. She was just a regular old Palestinian who said all the Jews should be killed. Okay? So Palestinians are not victims. They're refusing to evacuate for a reason, because they're shielding Hamas. And until our government acknowledges this and speaks boldly of the fact that if they're not willing to give up Hamas, America needs to be going in to this Gaza Strip and helping Israel to rid it of Israel, and tell these civilians, you either get out or you're a part of the terrorism. It's just like our own cops. If they go into a house where somebody's shooting from, they go into a house and you got criminals in there and people who maybe aren't shooting the guns, they tell them you better get out. And if they don't get out, then they're a part of the domestic terrorists. Cops will go in a house and they're going to kill people. If there's terrorists or domestic criminal or criminals in a house who committed a crime and they're holed up in a house, they're going to give those people an opportunity to get out of the house if they didn't participate in that crime. If there's innocent people in the house that have nothing to do with it. But if they refuse to leave, you best believe the cops are going to treat them like they're a part of the criminal activity. So this refusing to evacuate and shielding Hamas, and then children. The children are innocent. But our government has got to stop lying to the world and saying that Israel was attacked on October 7th, because that's when the attack began and it continues to be attacked. Meanwhile, they've got mobs of people barging into airports, hunting down Jews to kill them, posting on college campuses in the United States of America, demanding Jews be killed. And this is where it's coming from. It's coming from Palestinians. This was pre-war. This was just an average day. There wasn't any war going on. This is a video from 8 years ago. They've been saying this stuff for decades, people. So we have to look at Palestinians as terrorists. They're sitting there saying, we don't want to evacuate. We're not going to leave our home. We're not going to be run off our land or whatever. Well, they better get out of the way so they could get Hamas. And they need to stop shielding Hamas. They got rocket launchers set up in neighborhoods next to buildings. How can they act like they're not a part of that when they see them parading the victims and the hostages they took through the streets? They gave them an award of $10,000 per human being they dragged across into Gaza. They're all terrorists. Anybody who's not denouncing what Hamas is doing are terrorists. Anybody who's demanding that Jews be killed are terrorists. Anybody who is refusing to accept a two-nation state and demand that all Jews leave are terrorists. Israel is our ally, people, not Palestinians. And our government needs to act. Because when you attack our allies from the Congress, when you attack our allies that we have agreements with as our ally, and you support people who are shielding terrorists, you're a terrorist.